Hello everyone, we're starting with the next session, which will be another flash. And now I will tell you, this flash is called Youth Perspective on Internet Governance. And our presenters today are Zia Perko-Rogel and Ida Kreutzmann. So now I'm giving to them the microphone, please.
Thank you very much, and welcome to this flash. Today we are going to tell you a bit about some, I would say, developments inside the Council of Europe, because both of us come from the Council of Europe youth sector. We have a bit different roles, and we will tell you what those roles are. But the idea is to share a bit from an institutional perspective, actually what is happening on youth perspective. We will focus, I think, more a bit on youth perspective in AI governance, actually, because this is what is currently up. So it's even more specific than what the title promises. We will do it with some slides, but we are quite relaxed people, both me and Sia, so we are happy also to take questions, and we are happy to have some kind of conversation. So don't be, afraid to speak up. And I know that we are sitting in this space that is a bit not so participatory, even though we speak about participation. It would be nice to be a bit closer and to have a bit more, more participatory, but we work with what we have. But don't, it's okay to speak up behind your table and your screens. But before this, we will start actually with a couple of questions to you, just to check the temperature a little bit before we present actually the work that we do on our side. And it's just 2 questions, so it's not too much. And it's 2 yes and no questions. And what we will do is that I will ask the question, and then if you could somehow show me, maybe with a hand or something, just to, so we can see from here how much this applies to you. So it can be, maybe it's not yes or no, but it's somewhere in between. So as you know, this next 20 minutes is about youth participation, so the question is also about this. And the first one, if you think about where you work, where you are active, do you, or in extension your team, do you actually involve young people in your work? If you could just show us, maybe you do it a lot, so you can show really like, high temperature, or you don't do it so much. If you can just little bit, so we can get a feeling, the 2 of us. If you could show, yeah, so a lot, some do a little bit, a lot, little bit. Okay, nice. So, I mean, we expect the people to come here who care about youth participation. That's usually also a little bit what happens. I think this is a bit the case, but not everyone maybe is doing it fully yet. So that's good. One more question. I consider youth participation important, me personally. If you could show me again. Yes. It's not, how to say, we're not judging here, so you can, I mean, it's okay also to not consider it important, because it depends also maybe what you work on, or does it, we will see. Cool, thank you very much. And then we will move on to present a little bit. So just to give you first, before we go into the more maybe practical things, to give you a bit of context. So as I said, we come from the side of the Council of Europe Youth Department, or youth sector, which is what we usually refer to when we talk not only about the department itself, but the broader community also of youth organizations and young people who we engage with in our work. I personally work in something called education and training. So I engage with young people through education. And one of the topics that is super high on our agenda is the question of internet, but more specifically AI. We have a strategy that we are following currently in our department. It's called the Youth Sector Strategy 2030. And it's developed already some time ago. I would say before AI was as much of a hot topic as it is now. But because we developed it together with young people, we were able to somehow, I think, predict what would be relevant in the years to come. And that's why we have, I would say, quite an important focus on AI literacy. What is this? Well, when we say AI literacy, we refer basically to the skills, competences, and knowledge that young people need to have to be able to deal with AI in different ways. It's in a way a prerequisite to take part in conversations about AI and also to take part in AI governance. So this, for us, education is a huge part of what we do on AI, and it contributes to youth participation and to AI governance. In my work, which is not all that my department does, but in my work specifically, we offer training opportunities and we organize different events where we bring young people together to explore this topic, in this case, and to learn, of course, to grow and to get more information. But on this topic in particular, we do a lot of consultations because there is so much happening. There's a lot of developments, both on the side, of course, on tech, but also on governance and regulation, that we need to constantly talk to people to understand actually what is going on and what are the main concerns. I would say this work started more properly in 2020, so that's why you have here, it's kind of a timeline. So between 2020 and now, we have been organizing different kind of events. So while the first events were online, now we of course do them not anymore online. And this picture here on the right is actually from a meeting that took place earlier this year. And it was quite an important meeting in our, I would say, kind of timeline, because we developed some things that Zia will tell you more about. Maybe before I give the floor to Zia, just to say that in general, in our work with youth organizations and youth networks and young people, we observe a growing interest in AI. I call it here a hype, but it's really a curiosity and it's an urgency. We need to talk about this, and very often young people that we work with have a lot of concerns, of course, when it comes to human rights and democracy. And I think in this area, the main concerns relate to data and to the right to privacy. This is something that comes all the time when we work with AI. There's a lot of will to take part in policy development and in governance, a lot of, I would say, competence, but limited opportunities, and sometimes maybe also a lack of knowledge on how to do it. So there's a will, but the avenues are not clear. So that's what we are, these are the challenges that we maybe try to deal with, and the main, I would say, the main observations from our work with young people in the last 5 years or so. And this is just to give you the overview, and now Zia will tell you a bit more what is actually happening right now in 2025, essentially. So thank you.
Thank you, Ida, thank you, everyone. I mean, the fact that you're already sitting in this room means that, you know, or the title spark your interest, or you think that youth participation, it is an important element into these conversations that we're having. And before I maybe actually present what is my role or where I'm coming from, I was listening to the opening yesterday, and we were speaking a lot about how we need to protect our children, that they are our future generations, and this intergenerational dialogue as well, how to kind of go through these processes. And then still, we're talking about them, but how many young people are actually sitting in the room and meaningfully contributing to the conversation? Because we need to have as well right briefings, preparations, understanding that we can actually participate in these processes. Because for a lot of them, even with the side of event and with EuroDIGers, it's the first time that they actually enter in this kind of space. And for the first time when I actually sat in this kind of room and I needed to turn on my microphone, I was so scared. And nobody prepared me for that. And that's why we need to actually talk about youth participation, because young people need to be prepared so that we can participate. And this is my message in general, but maybe for the background where I'm coming from and what is my mandate here is that in the youth department, we have a body which is called Advisory Council on Youth. And we co-decide on what are the priorities that we are seeing in the youth department. It's a co-management body. So in the building that is not that far from here, we sit together and we discuss what we're going to do with our program. And we have the 30 young people have an equal say with the representatives of ministers who are responsible on youth, where we're going to go with our budget, what we're going to be our priorities, what kind of recommendations we're going to push, what kind of activities youth department is going to be having, for example, the training that they're going to do or the consultative meetings that we are having. And this is important because if young people actually participate in this conversation, then we're able to create program, content, policies, however you want to call it, that would actually address the needs that we are having, because these 30 representatives are actually representatives of youth organizations. For example, I present a European network of youth organizations who focus on digitalization in the youth sector, as well as safeguarding youth rights in the digital agenda. That is actually a very unique position to be in as well. So let's go further, because I don't want to take too much space and I want to have a conversation with you. In the youth department, we have been working on the word youth perspective. We were hearing about youth participation, but I want to emphasize that youth perspective is a strategic approach to ensure that young people's experiences, needs, and interests are included in all stages of policy making. This is based on a lot of documents that were already produced, and other people before me as well contributed to this. But just to mention that it's based on 4 pillars that should be these guiding principles and would contribute to the policy making. So if you create it based on that you're thinking with young people, that you're learning and with young people, and that you participate with them and act in and for young people. So this is very important key principles. But then that we go back where it comes like this young people and then AI, because we're still at EuroDIG at the end of the day, is that I will skip this, that we will go faster with it, I mean, me personally, I work a lot with the educators, so with people who are working directly with young people, and our research shows that more than 50% of educators don't feel comfortable talking on AI or educating young people on it, because they don't have the skills or the knowledge to start these conversations. And actually they would want to, but you know, when you are not sure how to use ChatGPT or some other tool, how would you tell to a young person that you're working with that you cannot just copy paste the answers that ChatGPT give you and explain why are we having all of these biases and conversations that we're having? And this was something that in the youth department we wanted to do. We wanted to have a consultative meeting where we would bring different experts and discuss what is the influence on AI, on the educators who are working with young people, and on young people itself. And this then ended up in the title of How Confident on AI Young People and Youth Work, and as well as in the line of other documents that we are already mentioning. But just to say that the meeting as well as the document has been based on the principles of human rights approach, the importance of cross-sectoral cooperation, and youth participation and co-creation, as this is one of the things that we really find important on whatever moment we're going with. And there we have a roadmap that there are key 6 action areas. So we need to have standards and instruments for this, because a lot of times it happens that the youth department is the last one to participate. But then as well, we need to have policies that are clear, that are understandable, that you know, you as a young person would be able to understand why AI means and what are your rights online. Because, you know, everybody kind of skips these like long terms and conditions, and I don't think nobody actually understands what exactly it means. And we all do it, or we accept cookies and then like, what did we actually do? And then we need to have a dialogue between youth policymakers and the tech sector of what we actually need. Then we need as well networks and expertise to see actually, you know, youth organizations actually have a lot of knowledge. They just need to be introduced into the room to actually tell you we are seeing this from the field. And then we need to boost as well youth organizations' capacity, which we're trying to do with various trainings and study session and educational material. And we need to have our educators actually being confident in starting these kind of conversations, even when it goes outside of the policy making per se, because what we put in practice is actually very important. Because, you know, what is the help of GPTR if nobody's using it or we are still having privacy problems? And then as well that we need to be more up to date with the materials that we're already having in the sector and digitalize them and update them based on the new developments. And then we need youth policy. We need to bring awareness that actually youth policy, there is actually like a very famous quote that it always stuck with me, which is that youthless policy is a useless policy. This is something that always sticks in, because if we're not thinking about the future generations and actually including them in this, how much of a use a policy will have in 5 years. And then we know how hard it is to actually renew it and go back and back and back to it. As well as that actually we don't have enough research that actually targets young people and the sector, what would be the needs and what we are actually seeing the influence of it. And then we have just my takeaways on this topic of being part of many policy making and discussions. I am actually the only youth representative in the Committee on AI as well, in my mandate in Advisory Council as well. So, you know, young people are a lot in the discussion of digital consumers. We are fluent in using certain AI tools, social media, or this online life. But actually, we are rights holders as well. We are still 20% of the population. We are active citizens. Maybe we participate in the ways that it's not traditional, but we still participate. And we are labeled as agents of change, but still, you know, we need to bring this change only if you give us the opportunity to. And we're not just users, but co-creators and decision makers that can be part of the digital governance that we're talking right now here. And if I look at the time, we are still having some wiggle room for the questions, comments, because I really want that we start a conversation about these things, and that's why I will stop talking. And I will just ask you for the technical purposes that you turn on your mic if you want to speak, and you say who you are and which entity you are presenting as well, just that the people online can participate, and you will tell me if there is any online question as well. So the floor is yours now. We were speaking too much. Go for it.
Thank you so much. My name is Victoria Melyanenko. I am from UN agency International Communication Union. I work as a project officer in our Europe region. So first of all, thank you so much for the presentation. It's really amazing to see the efforts of Council of Europe to integrate the youth in the old processes, and also from your perspective to see your passion, to share this passion as well with you as a young person working in the digital transformation for some time already. And just would like to totally agree and to highlight the principles, the messages you highlighted. And from our side, for example, from the experience, I would like to briefly outline how we're trying to engage young people in the work. So as the ITU, we have the Generation Connect initiative. So this is the initiative that involves young people in all the regions. And with them, they are all integrated in the high-level meetings of the ITU, sometimes in the working groups, in different activities. For example, in the Europe, we have our Generation Connect group that is nominated by the countries. So countries themselves nominate and want their youth representative to be involved in the ITU work. We usually, again, with ITU working on the digital transformation project around the different countries, engaging them in the more strategic meetings. For example, every 4 years we have the big conferences, World Development Telecommunication Conference, that will be in November, and we are all the time involve youth in the preparatory process, so they develop as a cohort together with us, like we maintain this open dialogue, open space to give them the opportunity, and also for ourselves, that also what I would like to highlight, it's really interesting and to see the new ideas, the new perspectives that are coming from the young people who are working or still studying. That's all brings the freshness and bring the important perspective. And we always see that European countries and representatives are open to receive this dialogue and to receive this feedback to jointly work So in this case, we created the Generation Connect Use Declaration for the Europe region with 5 main priorities outlined on cybersecurity, digital inclusion, artificial intelligence, digital public infrastructure, and generally the youth empowerment in the digital transformation. So also I would be happy to share and to also to build a dialogue with the Council of Europe to see how we can engage and exchange the experiences, especially towards the WTDC conference and all the engagements, because that's really important and that brings additional value to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's it's amazing to see that there are other initiatives and other structures that actually involve young people, and it was beautiful to hear. And of course, I would be more than happy that we see what are the overlappings, and especially with Council of Europe as well. That maybe it's more of a EDA as well. Yeah. Thank you so much. Maybe if there is a question or two. Yes, I'm sorry, I was not seeing you. Please, go for it.
Bonjour, hello. Sébastien Bachelet from ISOC France. Just to give you some example of what we are doing with Young, we organize in April different events in a small village in Burgundy. Small village, it's 1,300 people. And we organize activities for young. For very young people, we allow them, we work with them to take old screen and to paint on the screen, and they build something with all those screens together, and it was something that we present in the exhibition. We organize what it's called in France Café IA, artificial intelligence coffee, where we try to have specific activities for young. And then we also had a workshop on two EI who were in battle one against the other, named Zoé versus Adam. And it's get some good attraction during this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's always good to see good practices on the local level as well. And I see there's another hand. Yes, please take the floor.
Hello, my name is Regina Fuchsová. I'm from EuroDIG registry. We are a bit different in the scope, like much smaller, also taking into account that our primary goal is to maintain the technical infrastructure connected with .eu domain names, but we still try to involve youth as well. And I would just like to mention that we have very good experience with educational activities, either during the Code Week activity, which is like a European Commission grassroots activity, where we were doing with Lego robots or microbits some workshops for school children, or for a bit older children. We run every second year a competition, art competition, where we invite 15 to 18, 19 years old to create posters on the topic of cybersecurity. And if the school is interested, we also go there and have some discussion with the students about these topics, like as a starting point. We also have a youth committee established, and this is maybe also where I would like to pick up on what also a lady from ITU said, that it would be very valuable to share experience, because I have to honestly say we are a bit struggling with the balance of the expectation of the young people when it comes to the advice and involvement in decision-making in the reality of the, let's say, legal and factual responsibility of the organization. And I think for both sides, or at least we are now in the situation where we really try to find a good balance to have meaningful contributions on both sides. So that would be very useful if we can even informally get in touch and share experience in this field. Thank you very much. And sorry, I had one more question. Maybe I missed it out, but can you explain why you have specifically AI as the topic? Because I understood at ITU it's one of the priorities and you are focused on this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Of course, I mean, we could share good practices and what we're seeing as well, but there is another department as well for Democracy Here, Democracy Now campaign, and now they're doing the follow-up initiative, and this is one of like the key points as well when you're having a conversation which is based on the participatory level, how to have this kind of interaction between, you know, how can I say, not to promise too much and then, you know, like not deliver, but that the communication is still transparent. So if someone, you know, like makes their free time, engages, that they know as well where this energy is going. And I think this we can talk about like generally as citizens. And then to answer your other question is that basically there is a bit like complicated structure, but I will try to simplify it, is that in Advisory Council on Youth, there is 20 nominees from the European Youth Forum, which is the biggest youth organization, and they select internally their seats, and all of them are coming from youth organization or national youth councils. And this is the selection that I don't know as much about, because I am coming from the rest of 10, which are youth organizations who are applying to the Council of Europe based on their specific expertise that are aligning with the priorities of the youth sector. And one of them is AI as well. And they recognize from the applications what are the specific expertise that they believe that the youth sector would need. And I represent an organization that is actually the only one in the field that focuses on digitalization when it comes to the youth sector. And that is why I have my nomination. And then when we organize internally in Advisory Council as well, we have portfolios that we follow, and we interact with other committees as well. For example, right now as well, simultaneously in this building, I have other Advisory Council members who are in the meeting on the Committee on Gender Equality, and they're following up on that policy making and actually recommendations that are happening. So all of us are actually dividing the content based on the expertise that we can provide. I hope that that answers your question.
Thank you very much.
Maybe just on the question of why AI, I think in the work of the youth department and in the bigger work of the youth sector, which includes all of our partners, including all these youth organizations, I think we have a longer history of working with digitalization. So this is something that, of course, goes much further back than, let's say, 2019 or 2020. But what we have observed in our work with these young people, because we work a lot in partnership with, so we don't always organize events ourselves, but we do it in partnership with youth organizations. So also the program is shaped in partnership with them. So to make sure that the program is relevant for the participants as well. And I think what we have observed is that there is a growing demand for learning more about AI and this AI literacy, especially, which I mentioned earlier. So it's something that it's not the only thing we do on digitalization, but it's for sure the thing that is coming just more and more. There is just a bigger need to build capacity of youth workers, of educators, as Sia mentioned, people who work with young people, because I think the young people that they work with on the ground in schools, for example, they want to know more, and then the educator or the youth worker is not equipped to actually deal with these questions. So we work a lot with this to build competences of those people who will anyway work with young people. So very often we work with people who are not necessarily IT people. They are not necessarily very knowledgeable when it comes to tech in general, because they are youth workers or educators. So it's a target group of people that, they have to be able to talk about these things without being developers or without being the most experienced. And I think that's a very important task for all of us. How can we invite people into the conversation who are not the traditional experts? And I think that's something that is a question that we deal with a lot in the youth department.
And I see that the time is not on our side, and that this is still a flash session and we're past the time. So at this point, I would thank you so much for being with us. We will be outside in the corridor if you want to continue a conversation. And thank you so much, and see you around. We're in the middle of the EuroDIG program. So this is it from our side.
Thank you very much to our presenters and to the participants in the room for their input and an insightful discussion. Now I'll invite our second presenters for flash number 4, which will start right now.